I do want to check in with you on the Rays situation, only because as somebody who followed the A's situation for so long, every single beat, it is the 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 it's same song, different verse. There's this they're on track to do it. They know they've got it done, and then a horrible calamity occurs with COVID. It knocked back everything with Oakland. With this hurricane, it's knocking back everything with St. Petersburg, and this same sort of strong arm. I haven't followed the St. Petersburg situation that closely, but a whole heck of a lot sounds just like Howard Terminal, where they're like, well, we're not out, but we can't afford it anymore. So what are you going to do for us? And they have a little bit of. I mean, they're also going to be in a minor league stadium.
Yep.
If you're a Rays fan, I think there's a little bit more hope, thinking, well, maybe they'll just end up in Tampa or something long term. But I don't know what's going on.
Well, they're not going to end up in
What's
Tampa.
going on?
They're not going to end up in Tampa because Hillsborough County does not have the taxing capacity to build something, which is why they wanted to move to Tampa, right? Sue Sternberg clearly wanted to move to Tampa, but Tampa was not going to give him $1 billion. He finally found a mayor in St. Petersburg who was going to give him $1 billion, between the
Yeah.
city and the county and tax breaks and rent, land discounts. Um, what happened was they approved it, the county approved it, the city approved it back in July, and everybody's like, all right, this is happening. We just got to sell the bonds, it's just a
Mhm.
formality. Then two things happened that nobody expected, right? First of all, a hurricane hit Florida. Who could have expected that? Um, and right afterwards, since it ripped the roof off of Tropicana Field, and Stu Sternberg, the owner of the Rays, was talking about, well, we don't know. We'll have to see where we're going to play temporarily. Officials in Pinellas County were like, well, you're not promising you're going to stay in the county for the short term, but until there's a new stadium built. And, we've got this calamity where we've got lots of other people who've had their roofs ripped off who, need help. We're just going to put this off for a month, right? And it was just we're not going to approve this right now. We're going to wait, come back and take the temperature. What either the county commission didn't realize or Sternberg didn't realize, or who knows, is that there was also, again, surprise, surprise, an election in November. And the two people who were elected newly to the county commission were both opposed to the stadium deal. And it flipped a 5-2 majority for the deal to a 4-3 majority against it. So then county commission came back, and all of a sudden you had four people saying, well, we don't want to do this. Two people who said we didn't want to do this in the first place, and two new people who said, well, we're in here now and we want to renegotiate it. So at that point you had, the Rays saying, well, never mind. Maybe we don't want to do it at all anyway. Maybe it's too expensive for us. So you've got this thing where, both sides have kind of backed away. And now it's a question of, are they going to come back and try to renegotiate something, a new compromise? And where will that fall, right? Are, at the same time as the county commission is saying, well, we need more for the county out of, from the team. If the team is saying, well, we need more from the county because our costs have gone up because things were delayed a month, then maybe that's sort of a angling to say, well, let's meet back in the middle, right where we started. It's kind of what I expect is going to happen, is something where it's not going to be
Yeah.
something different from the deal, just because you've got, when it's a 4-3 majority, you only have to peel off one vote, and that's really easy to do. It's not hard to find one person who, under pressure, to say, you can be the guy who saved this deal, right? Even if people in St. Petersburg don't want the deal saved, right? Doesn't matter, right? You can be the person who can stand up there and say, I got a win-win where the Rays are staying and I got a better deal. And you can be a hero to both sides, allegedly. So it's my expectation that one of those four people is gonna flip, but who knows? I don't know them. I've only seen them in one hearing. Sort of talking about, well, I'm not saying I'm opposed to the stadium, but I'm opposed to this stadium deal. So I don't know what's going to happen when they sit down and start doing hardball negotiating and have to face questions about are you going to change your mind and approve it? Because it's only December 17th is when the next vote comes up.
So right now the city of St. Petersburg is on board, right? They already approved to sell. It was about 288 million in bonds, I believe, and then so now they're just waiting on the county, and then is that
Correct.
the next step? Yeah.
The city still needs to approve spending on repairing the roof, which they held off on. But I think they can do that. Once the county acts, there still should be time for the city to go and do roof repairs and have it be open for 2027, which is what they're expecting anyway. So yeah, it really is on the county, right? The city also had new members coming in January, and they put off the vote once, and then they were like, well, we're not going to, those of us who are actually for the stadium deal aren't going to stand accused of, dragging our feet until such a time as there wasn't a majority anymore to approve it. So we're going to approve it. That's what happened Thursday. And we'll kick it back to the county. So it really is, the county and the four members of the county commission and, Sternberg and the Rays execs sort of having a stare down at this point. And like I said, traditionally what happens in one of these deals is that eventually, something gets worked out with some money, sort of shuffled back and forth. But who knows, I mean, we will know more on the 17th, maybe.
I mean, if now there's fewer county commissioners and they presumably might, they probably know a lot more about it. When I watched the Nevada legislature spend a single afternoon learning about this deal, and their only witness was the A's consultant. They had all this tough talk. They had all this tough talk on day one, and then they went home, and they said, "You better offer us."
It was
some
a long
good
weekend.
shit.
I remember it was a
You
long weekend.
We're not happy. We're not happy. And then they came back the next, Monday morning. They go, "People of Nevada, you're going to be so pleased. We held out. We have one skybox that is reserved for community use.
Yeah.
So, we can put in we can, pack in maybe 30 Cub Scouts a game. Pretty good, right? We have
after the
$700,000 in community money. I mean, now, given they're never going to pay any sales tax or any other taxes, but they are going to give us a few $100,000 a year of in-kind contributions. I can only imagine the bullshit that they can just offer to peel that one vote away.
When it was clear that there was going to be a vote in St. Petersburg to revote on the stadium deal for the Rays, a friend of mine texted me and said something about presumably the members of the council or the commission are going to sit and go through this with a fine-tooth comb and try and figure out how much exactly is this going to cost. And I responded with all the laughing emojis. I mean, it's just like look, these. I in some way sympathize with elected officials, right? They're not experts in this stuff. They have to learn on the fly the same way as lots of people do. On the other hand, there are people in the world like me and like sports economists and like you guys, there's lots of folks who have researched this. And it's not that hard to send one of your staffers, hey, go read everything you can about this and let me ask some intelligent questions. And sometimes they do try to do that, but the one of the recurring stories is the degree to which, city and county and state officials are really, in over their heads when they're trying to negotiate these deals, right? Because they have to rely on, a few staff and, whoever the city corporation council is or whatever. Whereas the team owner can hire, everybody on the planet to come and, crunch the numbers for them. So it really is difficult. We need some sort of, I don't know, national nonprofit that comes and does best practices help for cities and counties.
In some sense too, that like the deals just the starting point of the deals are so unfair to the local governments, right? Like the answer is you shouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. But when you come in with such an unfair thing, if you're on a commission or a city council and you say, this is terrible, there's no amount of sweetening they can do to make to make this turd appetizing. You seem like you're a stick in the mud. You seem obstinate. You
Right.
seem like you're unwilling to negotiate. Where you're like, well, just negotiate, and it's like you're still oh,
And
instead of
this,
shooting me in the head, you're gonna stab me in the stomach. Like,
right,
it's
and
like
this,
there's
this
nothing
and
to negotiate.
this is where things come in handy, like Seattle's ordinance that was passed by referendum to require that the city get a positive return on its investment from any stadium arena funding, right? And there were all sorts of loopholes in that, right? But the fact
Yeah,
that it set out the principle of,
yeah.
okay, we're putting out X amount of dollars, we should be able to get at least X amount of dollars back. Show us how that's going to happen. So then you had elected officials who could say, okay, it's on you to show us that that's going to work, right? Because if they had done that in the Rays situation, right, you could easily say, okay, $1 billion, great, show us $1 billion worth of benefits. And, there it doesn't exist, right? You could probably cobble together legitimately or semi-legitimately 100 million or a couple $100 million worth of benefits, right? If you sort of, squint. But there's no way you're going to get $1 billion. There's no way you're going to get $500 million. Just from moving the Rays from one dome stadium to another new dome stadium right next door to the old dome stadium, right? Just when you put it that way, it sounds obvious. So it really is just you need to have
But
some sort
now
of
forty
in the way
thousand
that in
people
the
are going
ways
to
that you
come every
discussed.
game
Yeah.
now.
Now what?
Now 40,000 people are going to come every game now. Just
Right,
like they go
exactly.
to the Marlins.
Exactly, right. Because suddenly if there's a different dome, then people won't mind driving across those bridges that they've been complaining about driving across from Tampa. I mean, it's just baffling to me. There are certain look, the Giants are a perfect example, right? Moving the Giants from Candlestick to whatever Pac-Bell Oracle is called now.
Yeah,
Um,
Oracle.
Yeah, I think
uh,
it's called Oracle.
whatever the
Pac
new
Bell is
stadium is.
Yeah,
acceptable.
Pac-Bell, Pac-Bell.
Sure.
Yeah.
Moving it from at the time from Candlestick to Pac Bell, right? Really did make a difference to the Giants, right? I have tried to go to games at Candlestick and get back from games from Candlestick and survive games at Candlestick at night. And it wasn't pretty. So that genuinely was a step up. When you're talking about something like moving, from one stadium across, not even across the street, it's right next door. It just defies all logic.